Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on the Spanish Golden Visa opportunities. I'm joined by Robin Thornton, who is based in Spain, and my name's Edward Harris. I'm based just a few hours drive away to the west in Portugal. Thank you for joining us. As I say, IT have informed me we have had a deluge of people joining, and our allocation of 100 users on the webinar has already been reached. So our apologies in advance if you're unable to log in. We will make sure that this is recorded and it's going to be put on YouTube, and we will email out the links. So anyone who wasn't able to join will get a copy that they can look through at their leisure. So apologies in advance if you weren't able to join in, such was the interest that we got in the webinar.
Yeah, it's good.
For today, I'm just going to start off, give you a little bit of background about Holborn Assets, Holborn Pass, which is our citizenship business. Robin will then take over, talk you through the spaingoldenvisa program in a bit more detail, pros and cons, how it works, some of the options that are available to you, and then we'll do a question and answer at the end based on how much time we've got left. So without further ado, Robin. So Holborn is at heart a wealth management firm. We've been around about 25 years. It's a British-based firm, although our headquarters is in the Middle East, in Dubai. We have offices dotted all around the world. As I mentioned, Robin's in our office in Spain. I'm in Portugal. I used to live in Hong Kong for 10 years and ran the office over there. I also look after some of our US business. We have a US investment advisory firm. I live there as well. About 20,000 clients. We look after a couple of $1 billion of client money. So that's been our core business for many years. And a few years ago, we started getting increased inquiries from clients looking at international mobility type propositions, whether that's citizenship by investment, residency by investment products. And it's something that we've grown now into quite a sizable business. Portugal has been one of the most popular programs globally for the last few years. We are the largest provider working in Portugal for the Portugal Golden Visa programs. We did about 200 last year of the total market size of about 1,200. We've done about 200 already in the first half of this year, but the Portugal program is closing any day now. And as such, increased attention is moving to some of the other programs that are on offer. We actually offer about 22 different programs through Holborn Pass. There's sort of a lot of the traditional programs for passports in the Caribbean. We do the EB5 and EB3 visas in the US, and in Europe now, as well as Portugal, which will be reinvented in a slightly different form. Spain, Greece, and Malta have been the major areas for us. In terms of why Holborn, not only are we experts in the citizenship process, we're able to offer sort of full service from beginning to end. That involves working with the relevant government authorities, the lawyers, providing also advice for you in terms of the tax and the financial planning services. But it's not just a case of finding you a box or a solution for the citizenship aspect or the residency aspect. We're able to offer a whole variety of advice for you. In terms of who we are, as I mentioned, I'm Edward Harris. I am the managing partner at Holborn. I run our US registered investment advisory firm that's registered by the SEC. I am based in Portugal. Used to live in Hong Kong, so wide range of experience in sort of international financial planning matters. Robin, do you want to give the quick?
Well, I was just going to say, you must get a little bit confused sometimes about which country you're in or where you are.
I've got a few phone numbers.
Yeah, and kind of to add to my welcome to everybody. My name's Robin Thornton. I'm a chartered financial planner. Yes, I'm here in the lovely Spain, so I'm really excited to do this webinar tonight. Obviously, living here in Spain, it's nice to promote the country that you love in, or you live in, and you love, and you understand, the kind of intricacies of living in that country. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And likewise, I'm also US qualified. I work with Ed on some of our US clients as well. So yeah, we're really excited about this.
Okay, so almost to Spain and over to you now, Robin.
Yeah. Okay. So Spain. Wow. Okay. Where do we start? So, first and foremost, the picture there is in Estepona. Took that one myself about 6 months ago. That's about an hour's drive from where I live. So beautiful, picturesque town right on the coast. So, why should you consider Spain? Well, let's just look at it from a perspective of, first and foremost, the why is it so good? Why is it so nice? Forget about the golden visa just for now and how that works. I'll come on to that in a second. But it's a great place to live. It's ranked consistently number one as the best quality of life on places like Internations and the expat destinations, various reports that they do. And it's a big report. It's 14,000 people that are interviewed and fill in the data, and they pull it from all over the world. So it's a really good place to look. It's got an excellent public healthcare system. So myself, I'm in the healthcare system. I get my letters from a local authority telling me to go for a scan here, or you're due for this or due for that. So it's very proactive, no waiting. If some of our attendees tonight are from the UK, there's no 2-year waiting list for having a hip operation or whatever it is. So it's a really good system, and of course you can back that up with private healthcare as well. Good good school system as well. Certainly where I live, many of the schools are clearly main language is Spanish, but English is the business language as well. So that's taught in some of the schools. And then you've got the kind of international schools, which are amazing, quite frankly. There's one up here not far from me in Sotogrande, which is just, I think it's got 180 different nationalities there. The curriculum is based on the UK curriculum, but it's the international baccalaureate. I can never say that word. And all the kind of extras, I suppose, they go, you can join the polo club at school, and you can go yachting and all kinds of stuff. So it's far, far different from when I was a kid, that's for sure. So it's a big country, Spain, 5,000 kilometers of coastline, packed full of history. People don't realize it's a big country. It takes probably 10 to 12 hours to drive north to south. So you've got everything in between. You've got the different historical things from Roman rule, from the Muslims, the Muslim dynasties that came over. You've got kind of everything and everyone that's ever kind of conquered or explored Europe, has got a footprint somewhere in Spain. Obviously, it's nice and warm. It gets hot in the south. I'm here in Sotogrande. It's pretty tasty at the moment. We've had a couple of 38-degree days, but generally that's quite unusual. And we get a lot of weather patterns from Europe, from Africa, and also from the Atlantic as well. But generally, it's a nice, benign climate, particularly later on in the year. Probably another 2 or 3 weeks, it'll be lovely. And of course, we've got good connections, infrastructure, modern European transport links, again, dependent where you are. But for example, I can drive up to Malaga, park my car underneath the train station, get on the high-speed TGV, and I can be in Madrid in, I think it's an hour and 40 minutes. Last time I did it, hour and 45 minutes. And that's with, a nice seat. You're not standing like you are on some trains in the world. And someone who comes around and serves you a beverage. So it's very nice. And of course, in terms of the golden visa situation with Spain, it allows you to work. So you've got no restrictions on that, and you don't have to become a taxpayer. And of course, clearly, you can make some money, some capital appreciation on your investment. So this is how the golden visa works, or when it was started, should I say, 2013. It's perhaps not been as big a headline as the Portuguese golden visa over the last few years. It's perhaps been the quiet kind of poster child in the background, really. Spain has perhaps not been on quite so much as a journey as Portugal at trying to pull in foreign direct investment. It's got quite a big industrial center, as well as, tourism is obviously a part of it. But, there are some significant cities around the country where, industrial production is high, or, service industries are very big. So the actual golden visa itself is, you don't need to visit Spain. Well, you do need to visit once. That's for your biometrics. But again, you don't have to come here for, certain number of weeks a year or anything. I mean, frankly, once you've got your residency and your biometrics, you don't really have to come here again if you don't want. Kind of depends on people's circumstances. Gives you that Schengen access that everybody loves to talk about. So, you can go from here to see Ed in Portugal, cross the border. There's no borders anyway. And drive up to France. You can freely move around. You can retire as well. Again, there's different types of options on that, depending on your circumstances. Like I said, you can work here on a permanent basis or a semi-permanent basis. Entirely up to you. Depending on your circumstances. And this is one thing I really, really love, which is not known, is it's quick and it's efficient. It's not a complicated process to get your residency visa once you've bought a qualifying property. There's no 18 months wait. There's no massive delays. Strangely enough, for Spain, and I live here, is very efficient. So we can get you through that process, and clearly there's a few documents you have to provide, but it's not unduly burdensome, shall we say. And we will generally get your pre-approval within about 3 months. Another key to this is it's cost efficient. It's not going to cost thousands and thousands of euros. And I'll come on to the breakdown of costs later. So there's a small, basically, renewal fee that's involved after 3 years, and then every subsequent 5 years after that. And there is a route to citizenship. So people like myself, I have another kind of 3 or 4 years, I guess, here before I could apply for a Spanish passport. I'd have to improve my Spanish. So I've got to get my spoken and written Spanish up a bit more to be able to do that. However, if you are from one of the former Spanish colonies, and some that come to mind are the Philippines, Guatemala, Dominica, Cuba. Florida doesn't count as an ex-colony, but I guess kind of it is in reality. But it's not on the list. But there's numbers of countries, Mexico, another one, where if you come to live here, and clearly you already speak a little bit of Spanish, and you stay here for 2 years, and again, you don't have to really be here permanent over those 2 years, but you have to demonstrate that you want to engage in the culture, shall we say. You can get your passport after 2 years, so that is amazing. That is a really important thing to it. I'm not going to dwell too much on this at the moment. This is the timelines, what we do, how it works, where we go through it. But basically, from start to finish, to physically get your TIE card, which is like your residency card, in your hand, you're looking at a maximum, and this is old, it's speeded up since this is a maximum of 7 months, and you'll get provisional approval, which is basically a paper version of it, after 3 months. So really, really efficient. Okay, so how does it work? How does the Golden Visa program actually work? You've got a number of options. Again, a bit like Portugal, you can invest €1 million. If you've got €1 million spare, come and talk to us. We'll help you out. You can put €1 million into a bank account, into a Spanish bank. Interest rates actually quite low still in Europe for different macroeconomic reasons. You can buy a government bond. Again, negative real interest rates. Inflation is about, what was the numbers the other day? I think it's about 5.4%. Interest rates on government bonds are about 2.2, 2.3. So you're losing 4% a year. And this is the most important one. So you can qualify for the Golden Visa through a property purchase. So either a home or a commercial property at 500,000 euros. So let me talk you through it. This is how it works on the commercial side. So we partner up with a company called Oriens, who are based in Madrid and also in Barcelona. And they have commercial options, which we help our clients with. So again, it's this qualifying level of 500,000, because that's where it's got to be. The kind of capital that you need, though, is 375. And the reason for that is that Oriens will pay you upfront 150,000 euros for this commercial property. So as you can see the pictures on the right-hand side, we've got typical small businesses, I guess, is probably a nice description, in Madrid or Barcelona, so big cities where a client would come along, they would rent a bar, a restaurant, a cafe shop from Oriens. That would be your property. Oriens would pay you 150,000 upfront. So therefore, you only need 375 in terms of the capital required. Now, you can exit that after 5 years if you wish. There's a process to get out of that, but generally these are spread over 10 years. So it gives you the kind of flexibility of maybe you're not sure where you want to buy a property just yet, or maybe you want to buy a small finca that you're going to redevelop in the countryside, or I don't know, you want to buy 2 properties. You want one in Madrid, which is a crash pad, and you want one on the, on the south coast, which is more of a family home for the summer. And we go up from there. So at 500,000, and they've got other developments and other opportunities. So we do that on a bespoke nature as well. Fees, costs are built into there, but it's about 25,000. Most of that is government taxes, transfer fees, notary fees. It's those kind of legal stuff, which unfortunately we all have to pay, and I have had to pay them all myself as well. Okay, so option 2. This is, I guess, the most important thing about what we're talking about tonight. Buying a residential property which qualifies you for the Golden Visa. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, really. You have your beautiful house, home, apartment, whatever you want, by the beach, for your family, if you want to come here, free anytime you want to come. You've got no, other than traveling here, you've got no costs. And you've got an asset which is potentially going to pay you an income as well, because clearly you could rent that out when you're not using it. So it's a great opportunity. So we've teamed up with a few developers, but I'm going to highlight 2 here today. So this is Kronos Homes. They are a international developer, big in Spain. I think they've got about 12 or 14 developments on the go at any one time. Now, this is for somebody who's looking for a key ready to come to Spain, ready to get the residence permit. The options available, really for 500,000, it's kind of 2-3 bed and upwards, although they have smaller ones. You can mortgage that if you want. And if you join us for our webinar on the 30th of August, I've got Mark Delama from Fluent Finance Abroad on with that. And he's going to talk a little bit about the property market and how to get finance. But at the end of the day, you must put in 500,000. That's your investment into Spain, really. Anything above that is mortgageable. You can then rent it out, Airbnb it, and we have full management services available. So we have partnership tie-ups with concierge services, or a company that can arrange for cleaners to come in and out, or pre-prepare your property for your family's arrival, making sure the bed linen's clean, the beds are made, the fridge has got some basic essentials in there. All those kind of things are really, really straightforward. Okay. One Eden, Alcadeza. I'm going to focus on this one and get you a bit more detail. So we've got, Kronos Homes and 12, 14 developments. And Ed can help you out with detail on those. But One Eden at Alcadeza, I've been here recently. I was there again last week. It's 15-20 minutes from where I live. So I've had kind of boots on the ground. So who are One Eden? Okay, well, they're a big developer, first of all, particularly in Gibraltar. You can't quite see it from that, but I suppose you can see it. The picture on the right-hand side where the built-up area is, that's where the runway crosses Gibraltar. And just behind there, they've been responsible for building pretty much most of the towers in Ocean Village. 20 minutes to the airport from here, or 20 minutes to the border, across the airport, and about 45 minutes to 1 hour up to Malaga. So I'm pointing, which means nothing, I know, but it's that direction. They've got a selection of 2, 3, 4 bedroom units. Potential for really high capital appreciation. And I'll come on to Alcadeza in itself as an area and explain why. Now, the difference here is these are pay 30% now, and they're off plan, although they have started construction on this phase. So you won't be able to apply for your residence visa until that's completed, because until you get title deed and you make the full payment, you can't then apply for your visa. So this is something perhaps for people thinking about the future or thinking a little bit further ahead. But 18 months flies by, believe you me. And again, you've got the same potential. Airbnb, rental, short-term rentals in the summer, it's all freely available. There are no restrictions. You can live in this property if you wish. You can spend 80, 90 days in this property if you wish. You can come and retire to Spain in these types of property if you wish. So this is Alcadeza. I've played this golf course. It's surrounded by two golf courses, and it's a real up and coming area. I mean, it's quite a big area anyway, but it's had some significant investment over the last 2 or 3 years, and there's a lot more to come as well. So you've got Gibraltar in the background. Around this area, you've got tons of stuff to do. So for those who are into their polo and the concerts and everything that goes with it, and the after drinks, that's on right now. Strangely enough, the polo is always on in July and August when it's the hottest. But in Soto Grande, so it's about 10-15 minutes away from here. You've got mountains, you've got walks, you've got outdoor, you've got cycling, you've got Tarifa down the road, which is the kind of city or the major area for windsurfing. And of course, in Gibraltar, you've got some great historical places to visit inside the caves, inside the battlements, and even go right to the top to see the monkeys if you wish. Close by as well, Sierra Nevada. So in the winter, you can nip up there to ski if that's what you fancy. That's about from here, 2.5 hour drive. I touched on Tarifa already. I've got some friends who've just gone down there for this weekend, which is stunning. It's about 80 or 100 mile coastline, and around Tarifa is where all the windsurfing happens. And of course, you've got places like Granada, Sevilla, Cadiz, up the road as well. Beautiful cities. Many of them are kind of these UNESCO heritage sites as well, and full of history and architecture. Okay, so what about Serenity? This Serenity is the name of the development. It's a purpose-built development, I guess. Is a gated community is probably the best way that a lot of people will understand it. The planning that's gone behind it, a lot of detail. So each apartment, for example, I can tell where the view is going to be. We can get a virtual view of what's off the balcony. Centralized facilities, so you don't have to worry about pool cleaning or gardeners or anything like that. Frankly, it's a really well thought and planned development. So this is the master plan, shall we say? I was up here the other day in this top left-hand corner. So that's where the sales office is. Currently, they've just released, or they've almost sold out of the first 4 plots. But this development's got a little bit of everything. So it's kind of got your gardens in the middle. It's got kind of kids' facilities off to one side. You've got a beach type pool. There's a yoga area. There's a jacuzzis, there's the kind of bowls and patanka. And they've also thought about, the way that we all work a little bit different now. So there's a co-working space. So you don't even have to leave the resort. I mean, I've got to go down to my office, 10 miles away. With this resort, you can just come out in your flip-flops and go straight to the co-working space as well. Excuse me. And of course, it's got an indoor gym, and then you've also got the kind of lap pool, more straightforward, for your training, etc. So there's a summary of what it's got: chess zone, crazy golf, a little bit of everything. Okay, so availability. This sounds interesting. It ticks a lot of boxes. I hear you say, how do I get on board? Well, the thing is with these type of things, they're so extremely popular. Now, bear in mind, the property purchase needs to be more than 500,000. That's the first thing. If you want to get a golden visa, if you don't want a golden visa, so that kind of freedom of movement and everything else, clearly you can just spend less than that. Depending on your passport or where you reside, you would have to apply to travel to Spain. So that might be difficult for some people. So I always encourage people, to go above 500,000 because it gets you that residence visa, but also it gains you more capital appreciation, because that tends to be the sweet spot and desirability for these types of properties. So this is, I think there are 4 units here. So we've got Sandola, Bergamotta, I forget the name of the other one as well that's been released. So all named around kind of plants and herbaceous things. So here we've got in the Sandola, A12 is available at 629, and then we've got the penthouses, which are amazing, 360-degree views. Lift up from the floor below, it's from the parking zone below. Really, really special. Obviously, they're a little bit more expensive, and these are still on pre-launch prices. So once this phase sells out, which, as you can see, almost has done, the next phase is released, and guess what? They'll be 10 or 15% more expensive. So they're very, very interesting. We got A9 in Bergamotta, and here's Narola, which has got 2 units available, one that qualifies for the golden visa at 639. Sorry, 3 that qualify one from 639. One of the penthouses here has been blocked, as you can see, and then we've got one other apartment available. So it's really a fast-moving development. Okay, so difference between Spain and Portugal. Lots of news about Portugal. I guess if you Google Portugal golden visa, you'll get 1,000 different things come up. This is my comparison of Spain versus Portugal. Pros and cons, I guess. And Ed and I are available to sit down with you individually and talk you through what those options are. So each family unit has got their own bespoke requirements, and that's what we do. But primarily, we're looking at the investments. So Spain, okay. Spain, pretty quick processing. Get your property, residency cards physically in your hand, 6-7 months, pre-approval after 3 or 4 months. They don't hang around. Route to passport, 2 years if you're from an ex-colony. It's 10 years if you're from a non-ex-colony. I'm a British citizen. I'd have to live here for 10 years. I've already been here quite 5-6 years already. All properties above that level qualify. So you don't have the kind of Portugal, buy something but I can't quite live in it, or I'm not sure what I can do with it. Here, you can buy your dream holiday home, or you could buy a crash pad. You could buy a apartment on the beach. You can do whatever you want with it. It's your property, subject obviously to it being legal. You can work from Spain. Again, you might not want to become a tax resident because that is onerous sometimes. I know I pay my Spanish taxes. It's a 500,000 minimum investment and don't forget you do have taxes to pay to the Spanish government. I always tell my clients, kind of budget for 10%. It's probably going to come out about 8.5, but budget for 10%. I know certainly when I bought my property here, it came out about 9.2%. Renewal fees after 3 years, 400. Yeah, maybe inflation that'll go up to 500. But it's not onerous, and that's for the family unit. No need to visit Spain. Touched on that earlier. You can come in and out as you want. Couple of weeks, couple of months. I don't know. Your family might want to come over here and spend the summer here. They might want to get away from the humidity in the Far East or the heat of Dubai. Who knows? And you've got the access to Schengen travel. So for those who don't know what Schengen is, it's the Schengen Treaty, which allows people basically to freely move around without the need for an individual visa. Okay, so what about Portugal? Okay, so I guess what a bit of a concern is with Portugal has been such a huge number of applications that it's clearly going to have an effect on processing times. The system is not particularly good at gearing up. Hey, it might change. I would imagine about 18 months from application to getting your residency visas, if you're doing that now. You've got a route to passport. Yeah. Citizenship, really important for some people. I've got clients all over the Middle East, and they want to get a second passport. So yes, you've got that route to it. That's if it's granted, and don't forget you've got to pass A2 Portuguese. That depends really on the individual and perhaps the age. I think most people really will end up going for permanent residency as opposed to passports, which, you might as well have looked at Spain instead. You've got no residential options. So they changed that in January 2022. So you can't buy your dream home in Portugal and qualify for the golden visa. You can't live in those commercial options, the various kind of hotel apartment type things. It's a commercial business. It's not something that you can pitch up and spend 3 or 4 weeks there or a couple of months there. They do have eligibility stays, and this is a big deal. Is the whole industry has been talking about is that it's changing. I think we heard today that the president would likely sign the bill into law on Monday or Tuesday of next week. Which means that it then changes, and Ed was discussing this briefly at the beginning. It's going to move to a different format. We think that format will be a 500,000 investment fund format. Well, that's the same as Spain, except you're unlikely to get a great deal of capital appreciation, and you definitely can't live inside an investment fund. So there's some real positives for the Spanish route. Costs, time, travel, renewal fees for Portugal, circa 30,000 euros for a family of 4 over that 5 or 6 year period. That's a big chunk of change. Spain, on the other hand, 400-500 maybe. It's massively different. You got to visit Portugal 5 weeks in 5 years. So you've got the cost of that. I don't know, maybe you're a client living in the Middle East, living in Abu Dhabi. You've got to get your Etihad flight to Lisbon for you and your family, 4 people involved. You could stay in your place maybe for a week if you're lucky. That's got to cost 4,000 or 5,000, I would imagine. And you get the same Schengen travel. So you've got the same benefits on both. Okay, I've waffled on for too long. Sorry, I'm really excited about this. It's my home country. It's where I live. So, Ed, I don't know if you've got any questions that have come up. I know the people that pre-registered. 1 or 2 people had questions.
Yeah. So some of which they sort of came as you went, and you've since gone on to clarify, like someone had asked about defining a little bit more about what Schengen is. I think you've covered that since. A couple I'll just have a batch of trying to answer. One was clarifying on what you can and can't mortgage. So just to be clear, if you're buying your property, you have to put 500,000 euros of your own money in. If the property, so some examples Robin was showing, if you wanted to buy the penthouse and it's 800,000, then that additional 300,000 above the 500, that's the amount that you can then mortgage. So you have to put 500
Yeah.
euro money in. Anything above that, should you so wish, you don't have to, you can take out a mortgage so that your capital stays around that 500 mark.
Exactly. I mean, for example, I've got some villas on that qualify at the moment. The Lamborghini villas, they start at 3.2 million euros. So most people would be financing part of that, unless you're lucky enough to have that in the bank.
Then maybe different terminology in different parts of the world, but someone asked about when you were talking about the public healthcare system. So publics mean it's funded by the state. It's free if you're a Spanish resident. So Rob was saying they have a very good public healthcare system. That means there's no monthly fee that you have to pay. You don't pay when you go and get treated. It's all free at the point of service for you.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning there, and that's a very good point. Is that for your application for your golden visa, you need to have private healthcare for 1 year. It's a bit of a strange anomaly, really, and I think it's to stop people kind of coming immediately into Spain and having some huge operation. But basically, you have private healthcare for a year. Now, mine costs me about 220 euros a month for my private healthcare. So as part of your application, you need that in place. But then after that expires after 1 year, you've got no reason to it, because then you will get your medical card as a resident.
Okay. Next one was someone's asking about the options with Kronos Homes. I think it's probably, as Robert mentioned, they have a dozen or so developments all through Spain. Can't really go through them all now, so that's best to do on a one-on-one. But yeah, depending on whether you want a villa on the beach somewhere in the Costas, or whether you want an apartment in Madrid or in Barcelona, they have lots of different developments available. So yeah, as needed, Robin could go through those with you.
And Kronos tend to have key ready ones as well, because they're such a big developer. They've got so many developments going on. So if somebody wants to move quite quickly, they're literally boxed. I mean, we can even arrange furniture packs and things like that for clients. It's as straightforward as that. And that's just because of their size and number of developments.
Okay, we've just got time for a couple more. One was someone asking for clarification on how the finances work for the commercial option with Orient. So the idea is that you're making your investment of 500,000. Orient, you're then signing an agreement with Orient that you're going to give them the rights to rent out your unit that you purchased over a 10-year period. And for that, in exchange, they will pay you 150,000 euros. So it works out about 3% a year in terms of the rental income that you're getting, but you're getting it all up front to reduce the amount of capital. You then pay about 25,000 in the various government fees and so on, and taxes. So your total outgoing or capital required is about 375. If during that 10-year period, you decide that you want to actually go and buy an apartment in Madrid for 250,000, one of the flexible points with Orient is you can then say to them, okay, well, actually, I want to reduce the amount of capital that I have invested with Orient down to 250,000, because I'm now going to go and buy another property worth 250,000. So in total, you still have 500,000 invested in Spanish property. So you still get to keep your residency card and keep to renew it. But you have that flexibility with Orient where you can sort of almost draw down your investment to fit in with your residential plans, which I think a lot of people at this point in time might not have the perfect idea of where they want to live, or
Yep.
whether they want a 1-bedroom place or a 2-bedroom place or a sea view, or do they want to be in Valencia or Barcelona? Well, you can do the Orient investment, and then as time goes by and that becomes more clear to you, you can exit early or sell down proportionally that level of investment to fit with your plan. So it is a good flexible way of doing it.
Yep. Yep.
And then probably time for one more, which was just talking about two more. One was about the list of countries that qualify as former Spanish colonies. We'll try and dig it out. If we send this out an email, we'll try and get a link to the full list. But it is a pretty extensive list. It's pretty much all of Latin America, including Brazil. Philippines and a bunch of other countries around the world. So we'll try and get that list included as well. Last one then was about if in the future you do spend the time in Spain, you pass the language test, you get the Spanish passport. What does that mean? It's an EU passport, so really it's meaning that then, should you so wish to go and live in Italy or France or Austria or anywhere else in the EU, having a Spanish passport then means that you have the right to live, work, retire, use the social services of anywhere in the EU. So that's what happens if you go through those steps along the way. But if you don't want to, and you just, as Robin said, you don't even have to visit Spain other than for the biometrics, you can just keep renewing it, and you have always a place in Spain that if you need to or want to, you can just drop everything and go and move to Spain. You already have a property that you can live in, and you have the right to live there on an ongoing basis.
Yep. Brilliant. Good.
Okay, that's pretty much all we've got time for. So again, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you found it very useful. For those who weren't able to get through, our apologies again. We'll ensure that next time, now we know the level of interest and the popularity, we'll ensure that we have more spots available on with Zoom. Hopefully this will be with you soon. And should you wish to contact either myself or Robin, who's obviously the expert in this area, then our details are on the screen now.
Yeah, that's great. Ed, thanks for your help and input. All right,
Pleasure.
take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.